Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We will get started in a few moments. Just going to give everybody else that registered for the webinar a chance to join. So hold tight for another two to 3 minutes. Thanks. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Elise Bazzelli with the Connecticut Green Bank. I'm joined here in the room by Peter Ludwig and Mackie Dykes as well. So this is the CPACE Program Technical Services RFP Q&A webinar. So really, this is for you all to ask any questions you might have. I'll run through really quickly just what the services are again as a reminder. And then we can jump into any questions that anybody has and talk about next steps and deadlines and all of that. Just quick housekeeping. Everybody is muted. If you would like to ask a question, just raise your hand and I'll have to manually unmute you from my side. So if you look at your little options on the right-hand side, you should see an option to raise your hand. So when we get to the questions part in a couple of minutes here, just go ahead and do that. I'll unmute you and then you'll also have to unmute yourself. If you're having any trouble with that, you can always use the chat feature and we can answer questions that way as well. So let's go to the next slide. Great, so just a quick overview of the services, and this is all outlined in detail in the RFP. There are 6 services that are available to submit a proposal for. Service 1 is for contractor recruitment and training. So that's really just trying to identify new contractors, speak with them about the program, help them understand, why the CPACE program is beneficial for them as a contractor company. The next service, Service 2, is project technical review. So this is really submitting or helping us to ensure that the programmatic requirement of the savings to investment ratio is met for projects. So confirming that, working with the contractor to make sure that their calculations are fair and reasonable, and then also submitting a report to the Green Bank that confirms the SIR. This service too, just a note, for new construction projects, this would also include reviewing the total eligible construction costs, and also potentially reviewing the HERS index ratings if that's applicable, as well. And then the third service is technical and sales support for the Green Bank. So, working with us, working with contractors, working with property owners potentially, just helping to really support any technical issues that come up or information that we might need your assistance on. And then service 4, this is a new one this year that we added. This was not on the previous RFP, but providing energy assessments for CPACE customers. So really looking for folks to help perform on-site walkthroughs, so kind of pretty equivalent to like a level 1 audit, meeting the customer on site, sometimes even the contractor, if there is one identified, but usually just trying to help the property owner identify some of the potential energy saving measures that can be included in their CPACE financing, and then providing a report to them so they can basically have a place to start when they're thinking about clean energy measures for their building. Then service 5 is technical support for the Green Bank. So serving as the Green Bank's technical administrator. So doing the technical reviews for our projects that the Green Bank finances, and also just generally kind of helping with some of the day-to-day questions and things that pop up, just really supporting us from a technical perspective. And then the last one are here, service 6, project commissioning. So after a project is completed, for the Green Bank funded projects, we perform a project commissioning. So going on site and essentially confirming that the ECMs that we underwrote are actually what was installed, make sure that things are turned on, and everything was installed as we expected it to be, and that the project is still going to meet that SIR requirement based on our underwriting. And that's really, those are the 6 services. So now I think, unless Peter and Mac, you want to add anything, and shaking their heads here, so we can just open it up to questions here, and I will monitor to see if anybody is raising their hand. I will unmute you, and then you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. All right, I see Aldo. I'm gonna unmute you. Go ahead, Aldo.
Hey, Elise, it's actually Chris Halpin in Aldo's place. Hey, how you doing? Good, good. Hope you guys are all doing well.
Yeah, you too.
Quick question. So I'm glad you put this number 4 on here, energy assessments for CPACE customers, because I know early on when we were doing this, it was some of the reports didn't really measure up to what was required. So would you be looking for the contractor to go do what you were saying, level 1, sort of high level audit to give the owner and contractors an idea of what the opportunities might look like, and then the contractor with their own forces do the actual detailed due diligence to meet the SIR requirements, and then the contractor goes and does the review, much like
Exactly.
if they hadn't been involved.
Yes, that's right. So we'd be the service is for a firm to be able to go out and do that walkthrough, create the report, identify those ECMs for the property owner, and then just like you said, the contractor, whoever the building owner is going to hire to actually do the work, they would be the ones that would be putting together those savings calculations. And then a technical reviewer would actually be reviewing those calculations once they were submitted. But the contractor or firm that would be doing the installation would actually be doing those savings calcs.
Okay, good. So that way there's no conflict of interest, right? The contractor does the high level walkthrough, and then the consultant does the high level walkthrough. The contractor does the detailed audit.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Another question. So in the agreement, the only payment information I can find is hourly rates. And the cost of services section in the RFP, it asks for proposed costs with considered not to exceed. So are you looking for hourly rates not to exceed those rates, or estimates or ranges or whatever? Because it's hard to price this. As you can imagine, we don't know what the project size, complexity, all that's going to be. So we're just wondering what you're looking for.
Hey, Chris, this is Mackie Dykes. Good to talk to you again.
Same here.
That is a template agreement that we have, which, I think just the template language is an hourly basis. We're open, however, to any pricing model, whether, hourly if you prefer, or if it's more, service or product based. So you can propose, whatever pricing structure you prefer. Yeah, that's just a sort of a document template issue that's in there.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, and I think I had one more question. And under the general terms and conditions, you say you have the right to make awards without any discussion of the proposals received, which you always have that right. Do you expect the Green Bank to perhaps shortlist and then interview candidates, or you think you're going to make a decision just based on the proposals?
That's a possibility. I think it's going to depend on the responses.
Okay.
So we may do some last time we ran this RFP, we did do some interviews, and there were some folks that we spoke to after the proposals were submitted, and we may reach out for clarification of certain things. So there's definitely the possibility that we'll want to do some conversations / interviews afterwards, depending on the submissions.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Well, that is all I had. Good RFP.
Great. Thanks, Chris. All right, I see Brian McCarter's got his hand up as well. Let me unmute you, Brian. I think I can unmute you. Doesn't seem to be letting me unmute.
Can you hear me, Elise?
Oh, I can.
Okay, yep, I just got the indication. Thank you. So on sort of a follow-up to Chris's question on the agreement, I had the same question, Mackie, that you responded to on the not to exceed. So I think I follow that. The other agreement related question I had is the boilerplate, as you referred to, Mackie, of the agreement speaks to a 12-month term. Is that the expectation that the bidder should have, or are you open to a longer term agreement?
Yeah, I think typically our PSAs are usually 12 months, but I think that.
Yeah, I mean, we can, yeah, as at least typically they're 12. However, I guess we recognize that, I can think of one that is longer than that, just because the work just takes longer than that. So, you know, our counterparty needs some assurance of a longer period of time in order to have it make sense. So, you know, and certainly under those conditions where we understand that sometimes a year isn't enough and can do longer.
Yep. Yeah, as a for instance, there may be, back to your point, Mackie, about the open to different pricing models, there may be the nature of some services, right, that would require some upfront effort, and maybe there's an opportunity to capture success fees, which would you know, take longer than a 12-month term, which is really the underlying question. So
yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of, where we have a contract that's longer than that. It's exactly the situation where, I mean, Brian, as you know, better than as well as many other people in the country, a C-based project takes from talking to the customer initially to closing, oftentimes takes longer than a year. So yeah, we have similar contract outside of C-based where it's exactly that, where there's success fees that you just need longer than a year in order to have it make sense.
okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Brian. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Chris, I think your hand is either up again or maybe just still up, but I'm going to unmute you just in case. Nope. Okay. All right. I'm just going to check the chat, make sure we don't have any questions there. Okay. All right. Anybody else like to unmute, ask a question? If so, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll unmute you. Okay. Brian, I'm not sure if your hand is still up or if you have a new question. I'm going to unmute you just in case.
Sorry, I should have done that.
Nope, no problem. Just want to make sure. Okay. All right. So I think we go to the next slide. Oh, we've got something. Let's see. I'm getting a hi sign from my colleague here. Hold on one sec.
It looks like there's one other hand raised, at least, if you scroll all the way down.
Oh, VJ. There we go. Go ahead, VJ. Sorry about that.
Hey, no
Probably
worries. I just wanted to confirm something. So the 10-page limit, we can still add appendices of resumes and other pertinent information as appendices in addition to the 10-page code proposal. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay,
think that's fine.
just for the code proposal, right? Okay, just wanted to confirm.
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. All right, we'll go on to the last slide here. And if anybody else has any other questions, just go ahead and raise your hand. But just wanted to give you all another quick view of the deadline. So the submission date is Friday, excuse me, Friday, September 2nd at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's the deadline for the submissions. Submit it to the RFP at ctgreenbank.com, which that's also right in the RFP. And then if you have any questions, you can submit those right to me, elise.bazzelli@ctgreenbank.com. I'll be monitoring my email for any of those questions that come through, so feel free to just shoot those over directly to me. But any questions or anything in the meantime, obviously reach out. I'm happy to help. Mackie and Peter can also fill in if I'm not available with any questions, but certainly reach out. Oh, and I think, do we have another question? Let's see. Something. Deadline for questions really isn't any deadline for questions. You can ask up until when you have to submit. I don't know if that would behoove you necessarily, but feel free to send any questions in whenever.
And then we would share any questions we do get. We'll make sure to share them and the responses publicly.
Okay. All right. So I touched on this really quickly with Chris and Brian's question, but after the submission deadline, we'll of course review all of the submissions, and based on those services, we may reach out to some folks for follow-ups, possibly some conversations, possibly some interviews after that. I'll remind folks that you can submit for one or some or all of the services. And we also may choose more than one firm for any of the services as well. So, definitely encourage you to submit for anything you think you might be interested in. And if we need to, we will certainly contact you after the submission deadline to have any further conversations. I don't have an exact timeline for when the folks that we choose for each service will be chosen. I think it'll depend probably on the submissions, but certainly within the next couple of months, we should be back in touch with the folks that submit with some final determinations. Okay. Just gonna go one more through here, make sure no more hands are raised, I don't think. Oh, we do have one, Kat Clark. I'm gonna unmute you. Go ahead. Have to unmute yourself.
Hi.
As well. Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I work for Headco. We're a nonprofit here in Hartford. We provide technical assistance and loans to minority, women-owned, and other kind of underserved small businesses, including contractors and construction-related. So, but we've never worked with CPACE or the Connecticut Food Bank before. We don't have an engineer on staff, and there's one other of your kind of go-to qualifications that we don't fit. I don't know if we have, well, I would say we have 5 years of experience working in this kind of sector, but I just don't know if it's worth us sending in a proposal, or what would you think?
I think it's up to you if you'd like to submit. If there's anything that you think you fit, certainly welcome you to submit. And we'll review the submission, and we can always follow up with questions afterwards or have a conversation afterwards. But I would encourage you to submit if you feel like there's any service that you think you'd like to.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think we would be probably a good fit for the contractor recruitment and training, since we work with minority business enterprises and other underserved. So we're kind of good in that field.
Yeah.
And this is Peter. And I was just going to say that also happy to have a conversation separate from this RFP, since the Green Bank works across different kinds of markets, and increasing the sort of diversity of our contractor base is an important question. So I'm happy to have a follow-up conversation that's sort of, aside from this RFP, but just about the Green Bank and what you do in general. And
yeah, that would be great.
And I think my contact information is, but you can, Elise is on there. You can just reach out to her and we'll connect.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. Okay, let me see. Any more questions that have popped up? I don't think so. Going once. Nope. Okay. I think that's everything. So again, any questions that pop up, you know, in your review over the next couple of weeks, feel free to shoot them over to me directly. And as Mackie said, if there's any questions that come through, we'll be sure to publish those as well. Publish the questions and answers to those as well before the submission deadline. But thank you all. Appreciate your time. Give everybody a half an hour back. And we are looking forward to hearing from everybody and reading everybody's submissions. Thanks so much.